Nation, to this episode of the Success Grid podcast with your host Hussein Talib. In this episode, I have with me Kozak to talk about how to make your brand come alive and accelerate your impact. Rich is a visionary founder and CEO of RichBrands. He guides companies globally, reshaping brands with his extensive marketing and branding experience. As a passionate speaker and certified trainer, Rich empowers entrepreneurs to take action, gain brand clarity, and make a real impact. He's a best-selling author of his forthcoming book, Impact Driven Branding. So, Rich, welcome to this episode with me on the Success Secret podcast.
Thank you, Hussein. It's a great thing to be here, and we have a lot of value for your listeners today.
I know that you are very passionate about the subject and enthusiastic, and you are going to deliver amazing things here and insights. But first, before we talk about brands, branding, and how to accelerate the brand and be authentic, because this is the Success Secret podcast, I want to ask you, what does success means to you?
I've got a few decades on me, so it has come to mean to me not just mundane success by the metrics of the world, where you're making a living and being able to have the things you want and have the lifestyle you want, but it's to step into what brings you joy and have you bring other people joy. It's literally living in love. If work becomes love, when work becomes love, that's the best life you can possibly have. And frankly, it has come clear to me through all of these decades that when when you literally when you share your heart with other people in whatever way you do, maybe you are an expert, maybe you're a chef, maybe you help people overcome problems from their youth, it doesn't matter. When you're in joy making impacts on other people's lives, no matter what you're doing to make those impacts, the work you're doing is an act of love. And when you're in that mode, you're in the highest power you can possibly be in. All of us are given gifts, and our opportunity here in this life is to make the highest level, most significant gifts we can with the gifts we've been given, the impacts that we can, the highest level impacts that we can with the gifts we've been given. To me, that's success. There's one other dimension that just came really clear to me, and that's longevity. Many of us eat, treat our bodies, sleep, do things in ways that don't serve us. When we learn, when we are discerning and learn how to do those things, now we can be in joy for decades more. What a God blessing. That is success.
I love that because it is about helping yourself, helping other people, having it for the long term, I guess, as long as humanly possible. So that's very important, right? So, and we're talking about positive impact, and we know that any human can know what the difference between positive and negative things. But now, talking about brands, and you are working with brands, you work with corporate, now work with people, individuals to impact their business and accelerate them forward. So, what do you think, or what do you see from your experience in the past years? What is brand? Have it changed from what when it was 50 years ago, 20 years ago to now, for example? And what is it not today?
Well, it's an excellent question. There's no tricky answer. And if you're listening to this, please grab a pen and write this down. Your brand is a perception, but it's not your perception. It's everyone else's perception. You can talk to me for 10 minutes about what your brand is and how you understand it, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what everyone else thinks. And let's make everyone specific. It matters what those people whose lives you want to impact, those people you know you're made for, those people that are your right fit clients, those people who have a need of your gift. It's what they perceive. So branding is all those things we get to do to shape. a consistent perception among those whose lives we want to impact that drives our reputation and the brand forward strategically towards where we see it can go. Your brand is a perception, but it's not your perception. That is the biggest hurdle for most people to overcome. But once you realize that, now things get much easier. Now, you ask, is it different? Branding is a process. Marketing is a process. You're talking to somebody who ran a high-tech ad agency for 17 and a half years as an exec vice president with brand partners in 21 countries. I sat on the American Marketing Association board of directors back in the day. Okay, so it's like I have some perspective on these issues. Branding and marketing are both a process. And no, the process hasn't changed. What changes are things in the environment, media channels. We've seen everything come in the last 10 years from, all the different social media channels to things like audio media, like Clubhouse. And, it's like there'll always be new changes. The process of marketing is the same. And branding is a process. And that's what most people don't understand and they don't appreciate it. It's not taught. It's even when it's taught in school, it's taught with big company examples. And that's because that's where the money comes from. But it is a process. And when that process is followed, there are specific results that occur. So in impact driven branding, when you really care about making impacts on other people's lives, there are 7 steps that if you do them, you build 4 things into your brand that it must have to come alive and attract.
Yeah, so this is what you're talking about here now is the messaging and the awareness building for the brand, right? So these are the elements that are important to have clarity for your messaging, for your branding.
Messaging is one of those first impression elements. The first words people hear from you or about you are absolutely critical because they're first impression. Yes. So messaging and people struggle. They either struggle or they have this apathy about messaging. They either struggle like, well, what messages should I, do my clients want to hear? And or it doesn't matter because any content is any content. There's that. Those are both fallacies. Messaging is hugely important. Here's why. The effect, the result that we want from good branding and then good marketing that executes the brand strategy is to get credit for what makes the brand unique, to get credit for what makes the brand outstanding, to get credit for why I should understand how you as an individual or your company are different. If you don't succeed at that, you've missed a huge opportunity. And messaging, including creating a, a positioning statements, are absolutely vital to shape the way people see what makes you unique, what makes you special, why you. For an individual, that why you, when you're in an ocean of other individuals who look like they do the same thing, and that's the way people think, they tend to think all coaches are alike or all consultants are alike, until they have a reason to believe otherwise. It's really important that your messaging and the way the band presents itself create a clear a foundation of clarity about what makes you unique. It's about getting credit. So that's a process. It's a process of choosing the language, choosing the characteristics, the descriptive words to get credit for them in order to make your impacts faster and sooner and to attract those people that will hear that language and be attracted by it.
So,
It's
so
fun.
all of
It's
these,
fun too. Sounds like a lot of work. It
yeah,
is, but it's fun. And when you see it work, and it always works, the process of Impact driven, always, because you say, what characteristics must you get credit for to make your impacts? What categories of expertise must you get credit for to make your impacts? Everything is impact driven. And so when everything the brand says and does aligns, you get to your impacts faster. It's a delight to watch it happen.
Cool. So this is an important thing that is specifically sometimes a new entrepreneurs have like, can I build something from scratch and build a brand like, and nobody knows me? So all this you're talking about, the messaging, the language, all of these should start as the moment the business starts.
It's best. There are two extremes. One is that scenario where it's brand new, and the other is someone's done something for 20 or 30 years and they want to take it to a higher level, but this is the way they're known and they don't know how to build the brand to take it to the next level. Both of those are target audiences of mine. Uh, Typically, the new one is somebody who has done something for a long time. They have a lot of life experience and now they want to do something they love. That's more a target of mine than, but it could be like, look, I did this with $14 billion companies. I could still be doing that. I don't want to. Okay, I want to work with individuals. So I'm talking to you if you're listening. Okay, if you have an idea for a marvelous business or a marvelous service and you're 24, get on Zoom and talk to me. We'll talk about possibilities. The important thing is once you learn it is a process, branding, and you apply it, you become the champion of your own brand and you can guide it. When you don't learn it's a process, you're at the behest of all of the marketing services sellers that want to tell you what they sell is good for your branding. And you're in this swimming around in this, you're like on Times Square. Everywhere you look, there's, people are coming at you with marketing messages. It's like, you don't want to be there. You want to have the confidence that you know the steps and you apply them. And the brands evolve, people evolve, brands evolve. This is a flexible system and it's just steps. Please realize that. It should relieve you. Branding is just a process and it's just steps.
So, in regards to, for example, these steps, are they different, or are there certain steps that are skipped if you are, for example, in business for 5, 10 years and you want to grow it? There should be, I guess, some steps that are skipped in this regard, or you don't have to like kind of, let's say, start over with the step 1, 2, 3, right?
Wrong. Sorry. Okay. No, you got to do the steps. Here's why. I'll give you an example. A specific example, and I'm going to name names. So one of my clients is a doctor, and he wrote a book in 1994 called The 14-Day Stress Cure. And for 40 years in his clinics, he helped his patients remove stress and anxiety and anger from their lives, but not with stress management tools. He did it and he explained it in his book and he wrote it, he put it in writing, and it was out there. It's been out there for 40 years. He did it by eliminating the root causes of stress, the root causes of anger. He will tell you there's no such thing as stress. And that if you have anger issues and everyone in your family has rage issues, he'll say, oh, no problem, 10 sessions, it'll be gone. Because he knows there is no such thing as stress or as anger. It's the root causes. And when you deal with the root causes, it goes away. He knows that stress mastery is the beginning of life mastery. And no one knows this better than him. But he wasn't getting credit. And all this stress management industry that says, oh, buy the thing to inhale the holy water and buy the thing to put on your thing and vibrate with your nerves and, watch this thing in the morning and it'll last you all day long. All this stress management stuff is Band-Aids. And he knows it. And he gets so frustrated. I watched him speak one time and he said he was going to write a book called Stress the Bullshit Epidemic. And I told him, don't do that. They'll have you in a pigeonhole. He goes through the process, all the steps, and we create that umbrella that was above his highest level, possible highest level contribution. It's an institute for, for life mastery that teaches the language and process of life mastery to children in schools for generations to come. It's a missing piece. He's the one. He came in thinking he was the stress doctor. Does
Mm.
that help?
Yeah. So you need to go back, I guess, to the origin of things. Like it's very important to do that, right? So,
Well, the origin of things in the process is the origin of the process. It's not really the origin of things, but the origin of the process is to envision those people, those types of individuals, or if your impact is on companies, those types of companies, those types of individuals that you can clearly see impacting when you thrive. That's the beginning. That's the start of things. So when you have a new level that you want to achieve, that's you start with that because it's that clear vision of what you see for them when they bring in the brand and allow you to do your work. And it begins the ability for the brand to say, for example, let's say I was talking to you about the next level of what you do in your podcasting and your um, uh, summits and I say, Hussein, I've all the things that we've talked about. Here's what I clearly see for you. When I say here's what I see for you, the words that follow that make me a magnet. If I use words after that that paint a clear picture of something that you can see for yourself, or I see it for you and I can know we can achieve it, I become a magnet. The brand's ability to speak with clarity about what it sees for its target customer, its target client, makes the brand a magnet. And that comes from the process. And it becomes part of the consistent language that transfers energy and consistent, unique language that we develop for a brand that transfers energy and the consistency across the board that people feel. They feel a foundation of clarity from the brand. And I will tell you, clarity is the missing piece. When people don't feel clarity from a brand, it starts to fall apart. It starts to, it creates confusion and misinformation, and marketing doesn't work. And it's like you spend a lot of money and wonder why things aren't working. And it's because you never defined in language the brand with a foundation of clarity so that there's consistency and unique language that transfers energy.
mm.
That's it. I know I keep saying the same things, but honest to goodness,
It, it,
that's
it,
what
it,
it's
it
about.
is very important. Like when we were off air before start going recording, you talked about an umbrella and you talked about what we are talking about here, messaging and the language, and also you stretched out more topics. Like you went on to talk about purpose. So these things are like they could be aligned, but don't you think, like for example, in general, someone starting a business or having their business, why would you think that their purpose should be under this umbrella of their business branding?
Let's just say that if it can, it would be a blessing to their life, to their business and their life. Business will be joy, it won't be work because they're in purpose. If they realize that they know there's a higher purpose of their work, even if it's the process of touching individuals' lives. I mean, the type of people that my speaking has attracted to me are so varied. It doesn't matter. Every individual is different. To one person, helping someone understand how to do math is a purpose. to another person, helping someone get past being sexually abused as a child so they can literally make plans and achieve them instead of being stuck all the time, to one person integrating software to enable a distribution company to become an intelligent enterprise. It's like everybody has, yeah, their gifts are different. It's like in the Bible, when it says, we all have these different gifts. Some are teachers, some are, everybody's got different gifts. That's the beauty of this. The language of your umbrella brand is unique to you. That's why here we're not only working on the business to get it to thrive, but we're defining the umbrella, that business is a part. It's just one of the spokes in the umbrella. And all those other spokes of the umbrella are pieces of you. And when that umbrella gets defined, like for Dr. Orman, the umbrella of the Institute, everything fit.
Mm, definitely.
And it's compelling and it's unique and it's his highest contribution, and will, in his case, it's a legacy brand that will last, that will outlast him. So some people think like that. Some people just think about today's impact. But it's when you focus on the impacts, you'll get there sooner, you'll get to the money sooner, and your life is sweeter because making impacts on others is love. And look, I don't know your philosophy. The book I read every day says there's two reasons we're here: love each other, share love, and praise our creator. And everything else is man-made. If we don't get the love thing right, why are we here? So focusing on the impacts you can make is a sweet way to get you closer to purpose.
Definitely. So,
So even as a new entrepreneur,
so from your experience for these years, what is the like biggest mistakes businesses or new entrepreneurs or established one that are doing that might be hurting their brand, or that they are thinking that they are benefiting their brand and business, but they are actually not doing that?
you've asked the $10 million question. Way to go. Great question. Okay, and this goes for every individual that's listening here. Wow. It's going to sound simplistic, but here goes. It's consistency across the board. Here are the things that people do out of thinking they should do it or that they need to do it, that create inconsistency that breaks trust. Let me put it to you this way. If you were hiring someone to work for you and they did a job today one way and tomorrow they did it entirely differently and the next day they did it entirely differently, you wouldn't know what to expect from them, and you wouldn't be able to trust that there's consistency in the way the job got done for your business. Well, brands are like that too. If brands are inconsistent in how they say things and what they say they do, and you know, they're not trustable. So consistency across the board. Here are the things that people do that they think they should do, but they break consistency. You hire a number of different marketing agencies to do projects for you, to get leads. And they do what they know gets leads. So they use words or pictures or things to get leads because they know it gets leads. But those words or those pictures are not congruent with the heart of the brand. And so now you're giving off these images and it starts to confuse people. You think you're doing a great job because you're getting some leads. It's one of the big fallacies of let's get some leads and we'll worry about the branding later. Let me tell you something. It's not that. Don't do that. Okay. All right. So that's one. The other is just saying what you do lots of different ways. And it's very human. let's say you go to a networking meeting and you don't prepare your words. And so someone says, "Hi, who are you? What do you do?" And you start to tell them. And then somebody else comes up and they say, "Hi, what do you do?" And you say it differently. The first person's still listening and they turn and they go, "Wait a minute, I thought you did that." "Well, I did it, but that." When you say the same thing six different ways, you create confusion. And confused minds don't buy, and they certainly don't fall in love with the brand. When your brand defines itself and has unique language and consistent language that it uses across the board, and you speak, there is a foundation of clarity that people sense. You can call it intangible if you want, but they sense that there's clarity, that you speak with knowingness, not, you know, ten, not, not, you're making it up as you go along, and they feel it. And that sets you apart. That begins to set you apart. And what you say starts to take effect, and they hear it and it lands. Um, One of the things that people don't do, um, well, let's stick on what they do that hurts them. So, logos and taglines are a huge area of no nos. There are do's and don'ts about logos and taglines. So if you're a new entrepreneur and you think you're going to create a name of your company and a logo and a tagline, and you're ready to go, use these 5 acid tests of an excellent logo, which includes a brand name. Number 1, says what it does. Number 2, has legs. It has a place it can go, lots of places it can go, not just one thing. Easy to say, easy to spell, easy to remember. If you don't get an A plus on all of those, you're hurting yourself. You got to keep working on it until you get it. And, we do it all day long here. And so it's easy for me to say that, but honest to goodness, those 5 things are huge. And it's part of when you create a look, that look needs to be positively recognizable. You don't want people to say, "Oh, I recognize that dumb logo. Oh yeah, it looks like it was homemade in a kitchen in the 1950s. You know, so unprofessional. I never can tell what they mean." It's like you don't want people recognizing you like that. You want consistent, positive, ongoing recognizability. And that requires approaching logos and taglines with a specific way. We write a creative brief and make sure that the brand gets credit for those things it needs to be credit for. So just realize that those are the big areas. Inconsistency, logo, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Boy, oh boy, it does matter.
And now, speaking of that, what are some of the worst advice that you ever had throughout your career?
Worst,
Advice.
the
Someone
worst. Oh, good. I've never been asked that question. The worst advice. Wow. Well, I used to think it was the best advice, particularly in the self-development when I did about 8 to 10 solid years of self-development work when I left the agency business and started doing other things and then came back to branding. And that advice was fake it till you make it. It seemed so empowering and so reasonable and rational. It's
no.
not. It's not good advice. Here's better advice, okay? Like if you don't know what you're doing, you never fake it as if you do. You never do that. And if your father and mother didn't teach you that, I'm teaching it to you right now. Don't do that, okay? Don't pretend you know when you don't. Ever, ever. You'll cross the credibility line. It's too expensive to come back to the other side of the credibility line. And sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you will break your credibility and no one will ever believe you again. So don't do that. Here's a better advice. Become an expert on the experts. If you're brand new in an industry or in the work that you think you'll love, Study those people who are really, really good at it and become an expert at what they do, what they say, the golden nuggets that they share, so that you can share them with others. Well, as so and so says, and now he's a leader and become an expert on the experts. In doing that, you will be an expert,
Mm,
and you will step in. It gives you time to step into your power, and you never have to say something that you don't know. You're quoting others. All
mhm.
right.
That's very important. Like
Way better advice. Seriously.
we don't put ourselves in a place of not having consistency, as we talked about, and authenticity, because these are two things that are important in business and for the brands. So that's very important. So do you think that there is something that we have missed talking about that you can highlight here as a takeaway and for the Success Grid Nation and whomever?
Do. I do is a huge one too. And it is, it is come from your heart. Speak from your heart, not from your head. It's difficult. We're human beings. I understand. I've been there so many times myself, particularly if I'm in a position where I feel I have to wing it because I haven't prepared. And you get in your head, it's not a healthy place up there. Speak from your heart. If you really care about something, share that. Even if you don't know how to solve a problem, or if you don't know what the right response is, or what the right, process is, or if you're, just becoming the expert on the experts and you don't know something, but you really care, speak from your heart so that people know your heart. The first characteristics the first characteristics of a brand that land are the heart characteristics: caring, trustworthiness or trustability, empathy, deep listening. Those kind of things people pick up right away. And it makes them like you, maybe trust you, and feel they know you. But if you don't share it from your heart, now it's just your words. And, communications specialist, and I'm trained in neurolinguistics programming. I'm a certified trainer. I don't train. I used it to listen better, to serve my clients better. Only less than 10% of communication is words. The
Mm.
rest is inflection and nonverbals. So, Downers, you ever see anybody go like, I love my job? And you're going, why are you shaking your head? It's like, what? The unconscious mind cannot lie. Okay. So it's like, don't try to fake it. Just speak from your
Oh,
heart.
no, it does not work, no.
Does that help? That's a huge one, man. We didn't touch that. That's particularly for young people. You think it's, what you know and
Yeah, like some the problem with us nowadays, like we read some kind of info, a quick article, short article, and we think that we know everything about that thing, which is like it's not like there is more to it. Like we need to put ourselves in a place of learning and turning this learning to knowledge, and the learning also with time can be turned into action. So that's very important. Yeah.
if we don't mention character, and I realize that's maybe out of the scope, but if you're a person that doesn't have good character, you better fix that. But if you do have good character, let it shine through.
Definitely, definitely. So, Rich, great insights. Where can people can get in touch with you, learn more about you and what you do?
Our website is richbrands.org. Now, I'm a marketing guy. I should probably give you a landing page, but the LinkedIn, or the homepage of the website, richbrands.org, right at the top, offers two free gifts. One is free branding FAQ videos, straight talk videos, 18 minutes, answering frequently asked questions. It's free. Just get it. And the other is talk to Rich for 30 minutes. Anyone, and that means you. I don't care if you're a beginning entrepreneur or if you're deeply, deeply experienced and you're ready to go to another level and the gate's locked and you know how to get through the gate. Get just go on the website, richbrands.org, and click Talk to Rich for 30 minutes. You'll go right on my calendar, and I'll listen and learn all about you, and we'll talk about possibilities. And I'll share with you wisdom that came from 47 years so far of defining and languaging brands and launching them.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Rich, for being with me on this episode. Really insightful and new insights into things and branding. Eventually, it is about being authentic. It's about being consistent. It's about being you coming from the heart, not too much thinking. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we need to do that, but
Yeah,
little bit less and starting from the heart to serve other people and help them and do that. So thank you very much for joining me for this one.
you're welcome. It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.